Hi guys, so in today's video we will be making a petticoat. This petticoat requires no math, no measurements. I mean, you need one measurement, but other than that, no measurements. And it's completely based off vibes. So if you want to stick around to that and see how I did that, keep on watching. I don't know what point in the video this is going to be in, but take your, I know I said no math, but there's one part of math. Take however long you want the skirts. I think I'm making it about 20 inches, okay? So take your tape measure, you got your length, so just measure from your waist all the way down to however long you want your petticoat, and then fold it in half. Whoa, you get 10 inches if you're doing 20. Okay, this is editing Astro here because I realized how fucking stupid I explained that. Okay, take your length measurement. Decide how many tiers you want your petticoat. This is what I mean by tiers. Here's a few examples. Decide how many you want. Take your length, your tape measure with your length, and divide that by however many tiers you want. So if you want 3 tiers, fold it in thirds. If you want 4 tiers, fold it in fourths. If you want 2 tiers like I did, fold it in half. Take that and cut a lot of 9-inch panels. Technically make them like half an inch bigger because you need seam allowance, but do like round up. I don't care. Do whatever you want to. You can always make it shorter in the end. So I'm going to cut more 9-inch panels. I think in the end I'm going to use about 2 to 4 yards of fabric, depending on what length you're making it. I realized I also did not explain what I'm doing here. Take your sewn together rectangle, so you should have one really, really long rectangle. Yeah. And now you're going to put it in your machine and you're going to ruffle it as you go. You can either pleat it, you can ruffle it, you can gather it, you can do whatever you want to it, really. I decided to do the easy route where I just put it under my machine, and as it was going under there, I was pleating it in like no mathematical sense. I was not like pleating it down to a specific measurement. I was just pleating it as I went. So you can, this point, you can either make your gathers really, really tight and get it fuller, or you can do them really, really loose and get it thinner. Like, it really just depends on how you want your specific petticoat to look in the end. I was not caring. I did not care. I just needed something to add fullness on top of my other petticoat. So that's what I did. My ruffle. So what you do now, after you've pleated down or gathered down or however you did it, your ruffle. I know, so cute. Okay, so you you like wrap it around your waist and get to about your waist size. Add a little bit of extra room for, sewing, which would be about here for me. Take your scissors and cut. There we go. So now this will be your top ruffle. So the one that goes around your waist. If you have a mannequin, you can do it a mannequin. So next, you're gonna leave it uncircular. Take your leftover ruffle and pin it to the bottom of this ruffle. Let me get a better camera angle for this. Okay, so this is my waist ruffle. I'm going to take the corner. So right side would be this way. I found the right side of my fabric. So this side towards you would be the right side of my fabric. So now figure out what the right side of this fabric would be, which would be this way. And then I take the gathered edge of this and the non-gathered edge of this and pin them together. This is expandable all the way to ball gown sizes. This is also expandable all the way to mini tutus and stuff like that. Cheers. So, snip. So now I'm going to sew these 2 ruffles together. So I also feel like this is a great time to talk about finishing edges. So I'm a master level cosplayer. I have to finish my edges somehow. I can't just leave them raw. And if you're a beginner, you should still finish your edges. You should finish your edges. Okay. So I choose to use my serger. Yes, it's a specialty piece of equipment. But even if you do not yourself have a serger, that is okay. You can use your sewing machine, you can use your normal sewing machine and still finish your edges. There are French seams, there are encasing your seams, there are bias binding your seams, there is double fold seams. There are so many ways to do your seams. Pick one of them and do it. Serging is just the easiest for me because I have a serger. You do not have a serger, you do not have to do the serging method. Do them however you want. I'm doing it this way because this is the way I love doing it. I find this so much quicker. Finish your seams. I feel like, okay, I've judged a lot of cosplay contests. And I feel like the thing that sets masters and beginners apart is how they finish seams. A beginner can still finish their seams and be like, wow us by finishing their seams. You don't have to not finish your seams as a beginner. You can finish your seams. Please finish your seams. Stop just folding them under and stitching. That does not work. I did the same thing whenever I was in beginner class, but it really impresses judges when you finish your seams in some manner. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to be complicated. Finish your seams! Also, make sure you're catching both layers of fabric while you're doing this, because sometimes I miss and have a huge hole that I have to fix. So, make sure you're catching both layers. Keep in mind, this mannequin does not fit me. It does not fit any of my costumes. So, now that you got your layers sewn, 2 layers, I'm going to show you what it looks like on the mannequin just so you can get the vibe. So this is a hoop skirt, so it will be a little bit puffier than with just 1 layer. It's a little bit shorter, and I know it is. It's meant to be. So, this is what 1 layer looks like. We're going to finish our edges. Okay, so this is the bottom hem of my costume. I need to finish this off in some way, especially with this organza because it frays a lot. But I think I'm going to bias bind my edges because I want to be extra and I love bias binding. So I got my 2 layers. You can do as many layers as you want to get as much poofiness as you want. I think I'm just going to do 2. Here's 1, here's 2. Yeah, okay. Next step will be to take the 2 layers and sew them together at the top, or ever many layers you're doing, sew them together at the top so it's all like a waistband. Again, I did not explain this very well. You're gonna take however many layers you did, stack them right side to wrong side, so all your seams and edges will be on the inside, then sew them along the top so that they're all one piece at the top of where your waistband eventually will be. Now that I have my petticoat, which is super fluffy, now I'm going to make the waistband. So, you're going to wrap it around you. Mine's a little big, so I'm going to pleat it down a little bit. Again, with me not explaining. So, if yours is too big, because at this point we've done no measurements, if it's too big, you can either do one of 2 things. You can do what I did, which is I wrapped it around me, pinned the 2 edges together, and then I pleated it down to the point where it fits my waist, which I had to do in the end anyway, because I wanted to tie closure, which I need to make it smaller anyway. Or, if you're doing like a zipper or something, a button method, snaps, hooks and eyes, anything like that, you want them to touch, so you would need to either pleat them down, like I did, or you can cut the fabric so it's like nice and thin. The more you pleat it, the more roughly it'll be, so I always recommend pleating it, but that's just me. So now I'm gonna make the waistband. So I just have some broadcloth or cotton, whatever you have. Bridal satin will also work if you have it. You only need a little bit of it, you don't need a whole lot. If you want to do math, at this point you would measure out your waist and cut a length that long. If you're like me and just want to eyeball it, sure your cut is straight, so I'm going to cut this part off. Okay. So now, this is straight. I think this will fit around me. Oh. Okay, yeah, okay. So, however wide you want your waistband in the end, double that. I'm really just not good at explaining stuff. So take a measurement of however, eyeball it if you want to, however tall you want your waistband. Take that with the fabric and fold it in half so that you have double that size of the waistband. In the end, it will be a little smaller than what you want, so you could also add a little bit if you want to make sure it's actually that size. If you don't really care like I do, just double it and it'll be fine. Say about that big. I'm gonna cut right there. And then you're gonna rip. Okay. And this is what your waistband should look like. I don't want to move my whole setup over here, so I'm just going to explain it. You're going to fold these in so they meet the middle, and you're going to iron it flat like that. It doesn't have to be perfect, but something like this, and then you're going to fold it over and iron it again. So basically, in the end, you should have some bias tape, is basically what you just made. So also, if you want to be fancy, you can iron this. So if you open it, fold this over, and then iron that flat as well. Okay, so now is where you need to decide what kind of closure you want. Either you can do a zipper, you can do buttons, you can do snaps, you can do hooks and eyes. I'm going to do a tie waistband just because that's what I like. So I'm going to take my finished ends of my waistband and I'm going to sew. I'm going to use bias tape because it's what I have, but I'm going to sew a length of bias tape between each ends of these so I can tie it around my waist. If you're going to do a tie waistband like I am, measure it around your waist and make sure you leave a little bit of an opening so you have something to tie up to. So I'm going to cut mine about there. So now I have a waistband that is still able to open all the way with 2 strings attached. So now you're going to take this and sew it to the top of your waistband. Now would also be the time you finish these edges. I gotta finish these edges. I hate finishing edges. Okay, now that my edges are finished, I just serged them because I was lazy. You're gonna put your waistband along the top of your waistband, or you're gonna put the waistband along the top of your petticoat. The way I like to do it is I like to pin this very edge first, and then I do the other side. That this fits into this, which it doesn't look like it will, but you might have to pleat it down a little bit, which is fine. It gives you more floof. Okay. Your one side should look something like this. Do that to the other side. So now you're going to sew that down just along the top. And now the last step would be to sew up this open side. So I'm going to sew mine about halfway, so I'm probably going to sew it to about there about there. So I have like a gap opening so I can get it over my butt. So this is what your petticoat should look like in the end. Mine has a hoop skirt underneath it, but please ignore that. Yours might look different if you add more layers, if you add more tiers, if you add, extra embellishments, flowers to the bottom, whatever. But this is what mine looks like, and I just needed a new one. So this isn't the best made, but I just needed it quick. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later. Bye!